Hey, in today's video, what we're going to cover is the design and build considerations for this cabinet right here. So this is the kitchen part 1, and kitchen part 2 will be the galley, which will be on this side, but that's next. Today, we're just going to focus on this side. And this is the finished product, by the way. It's not going to get any better than this throughout the video. This is quite literally done as much as I'm going to do now. If you're looking for a finished product with all of the drawers and door fronts and everything else on it, that's not happening anytime soon. You're going to be waiting a long time, just like I am. It's probably going to take me at least 6 months to actually finish all of it, but that wasn't my goal. All I wanted to do was get the basic structure put in place for basic functionality. I've got the microwave and refrigerator installed and fully operational, all wired up, all secured, ready for travel, ready for use. What I don't have is storage here, or a drawer here, or any covering for this. I don't know how to do those yet. I will figure it out, but that's not my priority. So what I hope to give you throughout this video is the process of how I figured out what to build, how to build it, why to build it this way, a few tips and tricks working with extruded aluminum, and most importantly, how to be situationally aware of all of the different pieces you have to understand in order to build something like this. What I mean by that is that in this case, I have a refrigerator that has certain dimensions, a microwave with certain dimensions, a water tank with certain dimensions, space to work with this way, space to work with this way. So all those situations that I have to be aware of in order to pull this off. And of course, there could be iterations along the way. I don't generally get things correct on the first try. I do allow myself the ability to make the changes, and that's all part of the process as well that you'll see some of today. So if you are someone who's considering working with extruded aluminum for your van or other DIY project, and you're wondering what all is involved, what do I have to be aware of, how do things work, how do I design it, how do I figure out all the different measurements and specifications that I need, this video might be for you. Now, I might not cover everything you need to know. This is not a crash course on how to use extruded aluminum. For those, I really do recommend people like Jeff at Thrive Vans, who does an excellent job at explaining how to use it. And I'll put a link to his channel in the description below. But I would consider this video more of an addendum to something that Jeff at Thrive Vans would make. So he shows you all the professional ways, tips and tricks on how to build something exceptional. And I'm going to show you about all the different things I have to work around in order to make something like this work, which is, in my opinion, more realistic for something that you might encounter. So again, don't get your hopes up. It doesn't get any better than this, but it does get as good as this. So let's get started. When I'm building the furniture pieces, such as the cabinets or the benches, things out of extruded aluminum, part of my process is to first go through and measure all of the things that I think are important for that particular piece, how much space I have, what pieces I'm going to be using in that space, and what their dimensions are, what the limitations are for the van in terms of all of those pieces, how it all fits together. And so I start with a list. So the first thing I do is I document all of the dimensions of the things I'm going to put in the structure. In this case, we are designing the cabinet that will go floor to ceiling, that will house the refrigerator, the microwave, and some storage closets in a drawer. And that's going to be built around the water tank that's right next to you over there behind you. I've got the dimensions of all the things: the fridge, microwave, water tank, the expected dimensions of the cabinet, the expected amount of storage above the microwave, the expected storage above the refrigerator, the drawer, all of those things. So I've got that list here. Then with that, I start with the tape measure and other things on the floor so that I can get an idea of how big the cabinet can be, lengthwise and height-wise, and I already know the depth is going to match the depth of the wall of the Happy Jack wall, which also matches the depth of this cabinet right here. So it's going to be a straight line across the floor for that piece. And then I just create a sketch of what I expect it to look like. And it's a rough sketch. It's not to scale, obviously. And I put dimensions on there and notes and whatever else I can think of to help me figure out whether or not this will work. And then what I do is I go through here and I try to figure out why this won't work. So there are a lot of reasons why it will work, I want to understand the limitations of why it won't work. So that leads to, additional sketches, additional ideas, and finally, I think the third or fourth try, I have what I believe might be the actual product I'm going to build. And then I wait. So that was yesterday afternoon that I came up with this final plan. And then this is the next morning. So I'm in here again, double checking all of the measurements against what I physically actually have and trying to figure out why this won't work. What parts of this are wrong? Now, you know me, I don't mind doing things more than once. In fact, 3, 4 times. It's part of the process, but extruded aluminum is on the more expensive side of materials. And when you cut it, if you cut too much off, there's no putting any more back on. And I want to be as careful as I possibly can to make sure that I don't intentionally waste materials and money. It also takes time to get more. So I have a maybe 15-20% overage on what I purchased. But if I mess up too many pieces, then I have to order more. So not only money, but it takes 2 to 3 weeks to get them. I'd rather just take a little extra time now. So to try to figure out how this is going to fit around the water tank, I've got a couple things I put in place. One is a spare piece of extruded aluminum that's long enough so that I can go down and match up with the other cabinet. So if I make sure that this is touching against this cabinet here all the way down, I know that this is pretty much the line that it's going to follow because I need to stay within this space. Now the water tank's not fully installed, so this gap is a little off, but that's fine. So what I want to do is figure out if I put a piece of extruded aluminum framing on this side of the water tank, and it's right up against the tank, so that gives me 1 inch there. And then if I go from the edge of that cabinet to the end, and then based on this square, again keeping this tight up against that cabinet, coming back against this piece of aluminum here, what is my measurement? I have exactly, literally almost exactly 44.5 inches. So that's how I figure out what length this is going to be for this cabinet, because I want it to be as tight up against this as I possibly can get it, which provides the maximum amount of space for the bathroom, which is here. So I also have my cut list. I listed out how many quantities of each length piece of extruded aluminum that I need, and it's a little early to start cutting, even though my neighbors are far away. Still, we'll give them a little more time. It's a Saturday morning, so maybe another hour, but I will get started pretty soon. It gives me more time to look at this and remeasure and really get acquainted with the design and try to make sure that I don't make any mistakes. Now, there are a couple pieces on here that I decided intentionally not to spec out specifically and cut, and those are some of the uprights that go between the microwave and the refrigerator. So maybe I'll think about that some more while I'm waiting to have a more reasonable time to start the saw. So I mocked up the little kitchen area here in our dining room. So I want to see what all the pieces would look like when I put them together and what the limitations were for things like door openings. This door opens this way. This door opens this way. So what do I have to do in order to make sure these doors open correctly? Can I put structure all the way up to the edge, or do I have to set it back some? And if I have to set it back, how far back do I need to set it? So that's kind of what we're doing here. The other thing we're doing here is trying to figure out the walkway. So I moved our dining room table to where this edge of the table is exactly 32 inches to this wall, which represents the exact hallway space we have in the van. This is quite a bit of space here. So to be able to stand at the kitchen sink, which would end up being somewhere here, have these here to be able to open into the space and still have people move past it, I think it'll work out pretty well. So let me show you what I've come up with. So in order to have these two doors to be able to function correctly and open as far as we'd want them to open. This is the max. This one will come open anyway. And this one we'd want to have open to at least here to be able to load things in and still get past it if we need to get past it. I basically have 2 inches between them, which would be 2 pieces of extruded aluminum, and I have them set back exactly 1 inch from the edge. So although there will be structure coming across the bottom and the top at this level here, the actual separation between the refrigerator and the microwave will be back at this level, like this. So we'll have 2 of these side by side, and then with it there, we're still able to open the fridge to the desired opening. And when this is up against the microwave at this level, it doesn't impede this door at all. It fully operates as expected. You might also notice this is set on blocks, and that's on purpose. That represents about 5 inches of space underneath the microwave, and that's going to be used for a drawer. It's also used to elevate the microwave up a little higher, because having either the refrigerator or the microwave on the floor or up at the ceiling or in some inaccessible place is not part of what we would want in our van. So if it's too high, it becomes dangerous. A lot of folks would put it over top of the refrigerator and then have a really large wardrobe, and that would be great. But imagine taking something hot out of the microwave at this level and having it spill on you. I'm just not going to do that anymore. Also, some people put them way down low. I just can't be getting on my hands and knees in the van and crawling around to get into the microwave, or bending over, and blocking the entire hallway just to get to the microwave like this. That just doesn't work for me. So it's very important to design these to be in the correct position, not only in the spacing along the cabinetry, but also vertically so that we can use them correctly. I don't have a lot of footage of the actual build process, but one of the things I do like to do that I'll show you is I like to distribute the connectors, the corner brackets, as well as the nuts and the bolts throughout the build. That makes it easier for me to just go down the line and do the assembly with all the parts on hand in the locations where they're going to be installed. And of course, plenty of Loctite so I don't run out. I'm about to install the cabinet that goes here, and this is the second iteration of the cabinet. I made some changes before bringing it out to the van. And ever the optimist, I am cleaning where it's going to go with the thought that once I put it in place, it never has to come out again. So cleaning this is the right move. However, I know the reality is that it's going to probably come back out. It's definitely one of the largest pieces of furniture I've ever made with extruded aluminum, and it's going to be a little bit of a challenge getting it in place. So I think, let's see, we go in this way. It's going to end up on the wall like this, but I'm going to have to go in a little sideways. Okay. Imagine if that was made out of 3/4 inch plywood. I would not be able to lift it at all. As it is, I think it's in the 45 to 50 pound range, so not terribly bad. And if I can maneuver it in place and not move it again, that would be incredible. All right, so I should have the water tank in place. However, the problem is that this part right here can't go past the water tank, because the water tank does have a fitting sticking out of it, and I don't want to remove the fitting. Ultimately, I may have to, but the thought was I could kind of get this up in place, get the water tank in it as it's going up towards the wall, and kind of put them both in there at the same time. However, I trapped the water tank on the other side here, so I'm now going to have to take that out that way, come around. Okay, be right back. Just going to inch my way in. Let's see where we get to. So that's the problem, getting past that one piece there. So I'm going to keep working on it, and if I have to take it out, I will. Maybe if I go at an angle with the water tank, as this is coming in, get past that. That might do it. Okay. All right, I'm past it. Now, let's see if we can get the tank back in. The water tank is approximately where it should go. This is getting close. The clamps are going to hold it in place temporarily while I inspect everything. I want to make sure that it's exactly where I need it to be. It's flush here. The two pieces of extruded aluminum next to each other are lined up correctly. Got the tank-to-tank connection there, no problem. I want to go around and check out all of different angles and make sure it's exactly where it needs to be. Okay, this is looking good here. And this is a really tight fit in here. Look how tall this is. It goes up into the ceiling. So far, so good. All right, so that was a success so far until I figure out what else I did wrong. You might also be looking at this and saying, hey, that's a depth of like 10 inches. And in fact, it's exactly 10 inches. But I couldn't go any farther back this way because of these. Now, this one's not in the way, but there are two of them here that are in the way. So could I have gotten another inch? Could I have made it 11 inches deep? Sure, why not? But in my experience, if you go too close, you end up misjudging a little bit and having to pull the whole thing back out and take it apart and cut things back. So I'd rather go a little short and bridge the gap with additional materials, whether that's extruded aluminum or plywood or whatever. Now, I also have a microwave to go here and a refrigerator to go here, and they are deeper than this. So what's the plan for supporting them? Well, the refrigerator has supports along the sides, so I'm not even going to have a bottom for the fridge. So we've got a bar going across here, but the refrigerator is not going to sit on that. It's actually going to be attached from the sides here and just floating in this space, right? The microwave will need some sort of platform under it, but not a complete platform. It has 4 legs, so if I have 2 strips, one under each set of legs, I think that'll work fine. And I could certainly build that, you know, with what I have here. So my attachment points for this are going to be on the top. We'll have some sort of structure coming from the van up top here to here, and that'll go in multiple points. So I'll have at least 3, if not 4 connections on the top to the side of the van. I'll have multiple connection points along through here, as many as I want. I can literally just drill through the extruded aluminum and put a wood screw into the 3/4 inch plywood. That's easy. Of course, going along the floor, I'll put floor bolts through the bottom of the van, and then that will be secure along the front edge and along the sides. But I also want connectivity across this plane and across this plane. Haven't figured all that out yet, but that's next on my to-do list. I put the appliances in just to do a test fit to make sure that the width is correct for the refrigerator, make sure I understand the height of where this bar is going to go across here and things like that. It's not installed, obviously, so it's a little crooked, so don't pay attention to that. The microwave is also out farther than it's going to be. It will be flush with the cabinet, which is going across this plane here. It's recessed here on purpose so that the refrigerator doors will open correctly, and so that the microwave door will also open. And the microwave will be pushed, you know, up against this, so it does need this recess in order to get that door open correctly. Okay, so this is going to be the level where I've got a bar going across here. This will be pushed back again. I don't have blocks that are long enough to be able to do that, but I do have a lot of options in terms of how to connect this to the structure. One option would be to have something bolted in like this all the way across, and then have, and then on the inside do something like this, right? Okay. We could do that multiple times in multiple locations across the different areas where I need to secure it. So I don't necessarily need to build an entire rectangular structure to go back here. I think I just need to build a number of connecting points. To make sure I have the cabinet in the correct location, I do a couple of things. One is I use the 6-foot long level and I connect it with clamps to the existing cabinet, which I know is true. And I have this connected with a lot of clamps here just to make sure that I have a completely straight line. So the distance from all of these cabinets all the way down should be exactly 18.5 inches to the center of the van, which I made these marks a long time ago and had them covered up with rugs so I wouldn't lose them. So once I get this in place and have it where I think it's supposed to be, and it is true according to the level, I get the tape measure out and measure from the edge to the center. I have exactly 18.5 inches. Double check it against the existing one. I have exactly 18.5 inches. So this entire side here is 18.5 inches from center, and this entire side here is 15.5 inches from center. If you add that up, that's 34 inches. I have a 34-inch walkway. A lot of vans I've seen only have 18 to 20 inch total throughout their entire van. That wasn't going to cut it for me. So this is absolutely perfect, and I've designed everything around a walkway of this size. Now, to make sure I don't lose this location, I'm going to go ahead and put some of these screws in. So I'm going to find a battery and put the screws in. The screws that I like to use to mount things into the subfloor, which is a 3/4 inch hardwood plywood, are these 2-inch long log screws. Take a look at how aggressive that thread is. That holds really well. So I'm just going to put these in, but I'm not going to tighten them down. I'm not going to tighten them down because this still needs to be adjusted vertically. So if we get this bottom plane set, we know exactly where that is. And then when I'm ready to mount the top part, I'll use something like this, which is a digital level. So I'll zero this out on the floor and then put it on the side, make sure I get 90 degrees here and 90 degrees here, up towards the top, obviously. And then I'll tack that one in place. So once that's tacked in place, and then this is tacked in place, we'll measure everything again, triple check everything, and then finally tighten it all down. The brackets I'm using on the bottom have 3 holes. One to go up against to the 1-inch profile extruded aluminum, and then 2 to mount it to the floor. So I'm only going to put 1 of these screws in at this time and leave them loose, because if I made a mistake or if something needs to be adjusted, at least I didn't put 2 full holes in there, because sometimes you need to adjust it just slightly. If that happens, you may need to abandon the first hole you just put, because you can't put one kind of right next to it or on top of it. It won't hold very well. So I do have that reserve space for emergencies. All right, I was able to get the structure all put in place and connected to multiple points on the van. I have connections on the top, I have connections in the middle, and I have connections on the floor. And then I moved on to the installation of the refrigerator. So I got this in place. It is in there really well, and I'm quite happy with where it's at. The door does open as far as we want it to open. I thought I'd stop at this point and work on the electrical, because once I get the microwave in and additional pieces of extruded aluminum, it may be more difficult to get to electrical. So I've got a number of different wires here. Not sure what they all go to. Oh no, wait, I do, because I label each wire. I know exactly what each of them go to. Now it's just a matter of getting them all connected up and secured away. So up top, I've got a block of wood here. It is at a 25-degree angle to fit in that space. And then I have different spacers made out of 3/4 inch plywood. So this one was cut down to just over 5/8 of an inch. This one was cut down to exactly 5/8 of an inch. And on this side, I have one of the spacers from Thrivans. That is a 1/2 inch spacer. So I recycled some of the pieces off of the old bed frame. This is one of the pieces that I cut down to make this back part here that I bolted into the van frame. And then I carried that through to here and across here, and also on this side. And on the floor, I have that screwed down with 6 different log screws that are 2 inches long each. So I use this piece and some additional extruded aluminum at the bottom to create a brace going across this way so I could attach 2 pieces of 1/2 inch Baltic birch that were sistered together and then attached to these points. And then that's what the refrigerator is connected to. I've got another piece like this against this wall here, and that one was a little easier because I just glued it and screwed it into the actual wall. So the connection points inside the refrigerator are quite literally these here. So you just drill these out, and then I put these in place. So it's a number 12 by 2 inch that goes in each of these on both sides. Got the top one there, the bottom one there. And then these plugs fill these holes. So I'll do that later. And then I had to figure out how high to make this opening here. This will be a drawer that pulls out. And I did, in fact, go ahead and install the drawer slides because it'd be much easier to do that now than later. But it is this height for a specific reason. I think I have 5 inches here. Correction, I have a 4 inch space here. So that space is enough, but barely, for me to be able to reach my hands in here and open up this inspection panel for the water tank. So this bar also that's in here, which is the same height as this, which is 24 inches off the floor to the bottom here, is just barely enough for me to be able to unscrew this and then get it off and take it that way and pull it out. So I don't want to do it all the time, but if I ever had to get in there, this shelf is removable. So this is just put on here with quite literally 1/4 20 screws. And on the bottom, I have a large fender washer and a nylock nut. So I could literally take off these 4 connections and pull this shelf completely out and then be able to access that more fully. And that is enough space for me to get my little hose for the shop vac in there if I ever need to shop back out any of the water, or if there's any debris or anything in there I have to deal with. The next thing I had to think about was the water fill. So this is the side where the water will actually fill the tanks. Both of the water tanks will be connected, so I only need one fill, and that'll fill both of them up. And this is the place where it's going to happen, right here. So the idea was, because this is going to be a wet area and a shower, in the event that we had any spills from the water, going in or out, it would just end up in the shower pan and I don't have to worry about that. I don't want an external fill port. So this is the fill port that I got. It's from Aquar, and it's a port like this. It just opens quite easily. And this part just fits in there, right? So the idea is there shouldn't be any spills, but I planned for the worst. So this will be installed in the shower area somewhere here, right? So there'll be maybe a 1/2 inch wall. So it's going to sit like this. The other side of it is a 1/2 inch MPT fitting, so I'll be able to put an elbow in there to go straight down. So the idea is, if this is sitting here like this, then we should be able to go straight down. And you can see that I cut this hole specifically for that purpose, and we have access directly to the fill, which is going to be here. And that's as far as we're going to get to in this video. I've got everything installed, functional, and ready for the next steps. I'm just not going to go to the next steps at this time. So you can see the microwave door does open completely. The refrigerator door opens as far as we need it to go, which is to here. And that's all due to this 1 inch inset here. Everything else is going to be along this plane of the surface. as well as all of the cabinetry above and below will all be at this plane. This is the only inset I have for the entire build. The microwave is secured with straps I borrowed from the EcoFlow batteries. This is what typically holds the battery to the floor. They're secured with D-rings that I actually recycled from this van. These are the ones that came bolted to the floor when I bought it. So the next steps I'm not going to cover in this video, but I'm going to be working on a shelf that will go here, and then a door that will go here. Is this a door that's going to open completely like this, or is this going to be a French door type of situation? I don't know. I haven't figured that out. I also don't know how to do the doors. I don't know how to do the hinges for the doors. I've been experimenting with them, but I haven't figured that out yet. I don't know how to make drawer boxes, so there's no drawer here. When I figure out how to do that, I will make a drawer, and I'll then remake it, and I'll probably make it 3 or 4 times, but I'll make a drawer, and it will eventually go here, but that's not today. And just like the shelf here, I'm going to make another one that goes here, and then this is going to be a storage compartment. Again, is this going to be a door that opens like this? Probably not. I already know that because it will likely hit against the air conditioner here. So this will probably be either cut up into sections or French type drawers, or a door on the bottom and an open space on the top. I don't know. I don't have to figure that out today. What I have today is a functional structure and refrigerator and microwave that work. So this has been complete for about a week now, give or take, and I do drive the vehicle every day. I drive it to the park in the morning for our walk and errands and things like that. And you know, one of the functions of those drives every day is to listen for noises. And one of the noises I heard was this door. Can't do that. So the solution was a little low tech. It's a door stopper. So if you just put the door stopper in there, you don't have to put it real tight. Unless you hit a really big bump, it's a lot better. And you could still operate the microwave door. It's not going to hurt that. Look stupid? Maybe. Yes. But noise? None. I also added some blue tape to these drawer slides because without a drawer on them, they are rattling around. When I do put a drawer on them, if they still rattle around, that's going to be a different type of problem. But for now, I just got them wrapped up with tape. I did the wiring. It's not complete. It's done enough for now. My wire management is not great, but again, I will fix that later, I promise. For now, it's functional. This is a junction box. This is where all of the 110, 120 AC current for this side of the van goes into. So the power comes into the box and then distributes from there to the different outlets. The microwave is on its own circuit. It has a dedicated run of wire from here all the way back to the distribution panel over there on its own dedicated circuit. And I also connected up the thermostat for the velvet heater here. This is a good location for it. Ultimately, it will go inside of whatever compartment this is. It will have some sort of venting here so that it will have an accurate temperature reading for the space. So don't worry about that. The main thing for me is that while it's working, there's a light on it. So it's not going to be in the bedroom space where the light is on all the time. It's going to be over here where I don't see the light. And speaking of lights, did you notice the microwave? How basic it is? The fact it doesn't have an LED light at all? That was on purpose. Why? Why have an extra light on in the van that you can't turn off? You can unplug it, or you can put a switch someplace and turn it off when not in use. But then when you turn it on, you've got that clock that's always flashing 12 o'clock, 12 o'clock, 12 o'clock until you turn it back off. I don't want that. I don't think I could do that. I don't think I could deal with that very well. But there's another aspect of this microwave that's even better. No turntable. How does that work? Well, this is a commercial microwave, which means it does have a turntable of sorts, but the turntable in this is built in underneath the floor of the microwave. You don't hear it, it doesn't rattle. There is a rotation of microwaves down there that does cook the food evenly, as if you had a carousel inside the microwave, but none. So I don't have to take it out when we travel to prevent the rattling. I don't have to stuff this full of dish towels or other things to prevent the rattling. It doesn't rattle, except for the door, which, again, low-tech fix for now. Maybe I can figure out something else later, but for right now, This entire wall, as well as the rest of the van, moves down the road with no squeaks or creaks or noises of any kind. And that's huge for me.